Japan's Prime Minister Abe is just the first domino. Macron will move next. The ongoing COVID-19 pandemic attack against humanity has exposed the cabal and its top leaders for all to see. That makes them an easy target, and they are now being systematically hunted down and removed from positions of power. Japan's slave Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, for example, was told to retire by Joint Chief of Staff member General J. Raymond, Pentagon sources say. Raymond, after stepping down as the head of U.S. Space Command, is a perfect GCS emissary, they add. Abe was also forced to cancel Olympics, which deprived his gangster friends of huge amounts of money they had been promised in exchange for going along with Fukushima attack against Japan. In addition to Abe, the other leaders who are about to fall are those who have identified themselves with draconian fascist measures implemented against their own people on the orders of the satanic Khazarian overlords, while Dragon Society sources say. That means Germany, Angela Hitler, her pet Emmanuel Macron of France, Canada Justin Castro, and South Korean Moon Jae-in are all among those headed for the chopping block, the sources say. The best bet is that France's Macron will be the next to fall. Just like the Romanian dictator Nicolae Ceausescu increased repressions until his own security forces put him in front of a fire squad, Macron is upping repressions in France. Propaganda news reports cite the health ministry to say France is seeing an exponential rise in cases. This is an excuse for the embattled Macron to call for another national-wide lockdown. Macron is also pushing 5G as a matter of European sovereignty. However, as reported by the Association of French Reserve Officers, complied by a broad range of professionals with real-world, front-line experience in the battle against the cabal's pandemic has reached the following conclusions. Glaring inconsistencies and inexplicable lacunae invalidate the official theory. The management of the health crisis seems to be the pretext of a totalitarian global takeover. Totalitarian machinations, intention to impose a global cryptocurrency, a vaccine with nanochips, and a subcutaneous electronic chip. There is a massive corruption at the heart of WHO and the most unavowable intentions. 5G is implicated in COVID-19, with electromagnetic radiation having possibly highly potentiated the pathogenic power of the virus or the Prevotella that caused the cryptokine shock. The similarity between the lung damage observed by all emergency doctors and the damage caused by the use of an electromagnetic weapon. Many antennas were installed thanks to the lockdown without concern for the precautionary principle despite its being otherwise widely cited, in particular to hobby medical treatment. COVID-19 is a biological and electromagnetic war supported by a vast smoke and mirrors operation, which is showing confusion among the ranks of medical and hospital personnel. COVID-19 could be the reparation for a much larger-scale joint operation combined with a smokescreen to conceal large-scale tests of G5 weapon for criminal ends that remain to be clarified. G5 installations, both terrestrial and aerial, are clearly part of this total war project. Dr. Jeremy K. Rains, an authoritative electromagnetic field engineer, reports that signals are used by the human body to regulate its processes, and warns that external electromagnetic signals can be seriously interfere in this process. No investigation has been carried out on the reaction of the Earth to the massive use of G5 technology, despite it have been established that industrial activities can induce earthquakes. Unusual earthquakes have taken place in France, and municipalities have been declared to be in a state of emergency. The entire 190-page report will be posted on the Letters to the Editor page. The French military knows they have a duty to defend the people, and that means they must remove the murderous Macron government. Asian secret societies have also said that high-frequency electromagnetic attack killed large amounts of people in Wuhan, China. Now these attacks are taking place at a global level, and a war that is invisible to the naked eye is well underway, they add. While there are many aspects to this war that are invisible to the naked eye, we humans can liberate the planet by attacking the visible aspects. The process that led to Fukushima attack on Japan and the subsequent fraudulent election of Abe in 2012 provides us with concrete targets. In particular, the problem can be traced to the people who have controlled monotheism as a family business for thousands of years. For example, the leader of the current Antifa, Black Lives Matter, and other Bolshevik-type attacks in the US is Leo Zagami, according to P3 Freemason sources. We have independently confirmed the forensic trail of control leads to Leo Zagami, who has fled Italy to avoid arrest by forces loyal to Pope Francis and the P3 Freemasons. He is now hiding in Palm Springs, California, and acting like a devout Christian. However, when Zagami came to meet me in Japan, he showed me pictures of demonic entities and said he and his fellow Satanists could summon them using ceremonies involving 5-point stars, just like in the movies. He said these entities could also cause huge storms, earthquakes, and etc. Zagami also said the most powerful entities could only be summoned via human sacrifice. Having brought up as an atheist, I just assumed at the time Zagami was using crude scare tactics designed to frighten superstitious monotheist old ladies. Now I am not so sure. Immediately after the Fukushima attack on Japan, Zagami sent emails bragging about the attack and claiming responsibility. He also said it was his group that was behind Marxism in the communist revolution scene around the world. With that in mind, take note that many people, including Ukrainian, have noticed the U.S. Democratic Party's use of satanic logo. Zagami's people also claim to control Christians as their slaves. Judging from their behavior, this is probably true for some Christian groups. Here, for example, are a group of 2,700 brainwashed Christian Zionists preachers telling people to get their vaccine. The battle for the U.S. will continue over the coming weeks, but Antifa and BLM, etc. Bolsheviks only have money and a few hired goons at their disposal. That is why they lose against the patriots now systematically removing this filth from the U.S. body politic. I highly recommend their take Zagami in for serious interrogations. The key battle for the liberation of the planet Earth, of course, centers around Israel, where courageous Jews are fighting daily to remove their satanic leadership under Benjamin Netanyahu. Here's what Pentagon sources have to say about the battle to liberate the Jews in Israel. Kissinger famously said Israel may not exist after 2020, and here are 3 more scripts. U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo failed to get Bahrain, Sudan, Oman, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Morocco, or any Arab state to normalize ties with Israel because they all know Israel nuked Beirut. These states insist on a Arab peace initiative. With annexation rejected, the state may have been set for U.S. President Donald Trump to compel Israel to return all Arab lands, evacuate illegal Jewish settlements, and withdraw to 1967 borders as per API. Doing so will win him the Nobel Prize. With France ejected from Libyan waters, NATO fracturing, and Italy afraid of casualties, the U.S. Navy conducts exercise with Turkey. Turkey, with drones and Russian advanced weaponry, may defeat Greece and Cyprus, who are partners with Israel in the Eastern Mediterranean gas pipeline project. We can add that other Pentagon sources say the UAE only agreed to peace deal with Israel because it had been threatened with a nuclear attack similar to the one that hit Beirut. We also note that Macron has also incriminated himself in this attack by using it as a pretext to re-establish French colonial rule over the country. Overall, according to MI6 sources, the general state of place around the world is indeed very chaotic, and we will only remain on standby for so long before all the world's top brass say enough. The disturbing thing is civilian governments and their leaders have failed and are too weak. It is indeed a global civil war in the death throes of the control matrix present convertedly in the geopolitics for a very long time. This writer traveled to Bill Gates' compound in Garuzawa, Japan, to investigate reports of train explosion there. After being denied entry, I interviewed neighbors and local contractors working nearby, but no suspicious activities or the presence of Mr. Bill could be confirmed. It's a reporter's job to do boots-on-the-ground research. Sometimes it pays off big and sometimes the well is dry. Nevertheless, in today's special effects, virtual reality world, we need to maintain a face-to-face human network of information exchange as much as possible, to reject the interference of AI-generated personalities, especially on social media. A White Dragon Society member who was arrested in Indonesia on trumping up charges and spent 4 months in jail narrowly avoided a planned assassination attempt upon release. If the senior member is killed, then the White Dragon Society promised the same fate shall follow for President Jokowi and the descendants of former President Suharto. In Asia, many long-term observers say what is going on with the fall of Babylon. If Babylon falls, the Jews will be free for the first time in 5,700 years. As someone who was brought up as an atheist, I never thought I would say such a thing, but we are going through biblical events.